Hey everybody, I just gotta do this video. This is the gas station I was talking about. It was last opened as a 76 station, and the now owner, his name is Pete, what you see up there. He does have gravity pumps. These weren't obviously the last pumps that were in service, but he's open. I just always wanted to come and video this service station, but he used to, that's Route 66, so we're gonna get a lot of traffic noise. But he's not open during the winter. But Pete's here. He said he would answer some questions. He's got some customers, so he may have to go, but I'm gonna ask him a few questions. So Pete, right before I started filming outside, you were saying that you were working for a service station in what state?
I grew up in Montana, and I worked in the little town we lived in. I worked in a gas station there in the early 60s. I worked there almost 6 years.
How old were you at the time?
About 14 when I first started helping, and then when I was 16, they hired me with pay.
So when you were working at the gas stations, it was the time when a car would pull in, hit the line, ding, ding. You would come out and tell me what your job was once you heard the ding.
Our job, it was what I call a one-horse town. So it was myself and the boss, and usually the boss was out delivering fuel to somebody out in the country. So it was me, and I would go out and I'd pump gas, I'd check their oil, their radiator, I'd wash their windows and
check the air pressure.
Air pressure if they wanted me to, and that. And then I also worked in the shop, fixed flats and did tune-ups and oil changes, grease jobs.
So a lot of people that watch YouTube today are of a generation, even my daughters, that don't understand what full serve, self-serve type of thing would be, and what Pete just described is what you would get, which was included of the price per gallon, was a service attendant like himself coming out and checking all the necessities, the fluids, the air pressure, whatnot. Bygone days. Technologically, Pete, what would you say is some of the leaps in technology from when you worked to what you see is now?
Well, it's all digital now. I mean, it's all computerized. In those days, our pumps literally only went up to $9.99 for the
cost?
For the total price, yeah. Gas was, when I first started pumping gas, it was $25.9 for regular.
Well, we have a sign on our pumps back at the Rancho, at our service station, Richfield service station, which my viewers have seen me do videos of. And I think our sign says like 29 or 39 cents a gallon. But what can you tell me about this station where I'm standing? What was the last company that was running it? If you know when it opened, when it closed, stuff like that.
Well, as near as I can tell, and of course, information changes from time to time because you get stories from other people.
Yeah.
But it started in about 1940 with this Whitaker that I talked about. He ran it for 17 years. And then there was a variety of people who leased it from Union 76, some of which I knew here in town, and probably until the mid to late 70s. And then they sold it to, Union 76 went out because the interstate was supposed to come in. And then they sold it to a local person, and they ran it for, had an automotive repair shop and restoration shop, if you will, and they had generic pumps out here, and then they pumped gas for several years. So sometime in the 80s is when they stopped pumping gas.
And when did Route 66 get decommissioned in front of the?
Well, it got decommissioned. They opened that stretch, the 6 miles behind me.
Okay.
In '84, November of '84, and then in '85, all of 66 was decommissioned by the U.S. government. And that was mainly so they didn't have to provide any funding for the upkeep of it.
So when Pete's talking about the 6 stretch behind him, he's talking about I-40. So Interstate 40, there was 6 miles behind him. Once that started being used, they decommissioned Route 66 out here. And he was telling me, as of now, if you come to Williams, you have one-way traffic heading eastbound, and on the back it's westbound. That didn't happen. They didn't split the one-way streets until, what, 1950, I think you said?
55.
1955 is when the one-way streets come in. But something Pete was just telling me, and I never knew it all the times I've been to Williams, is that there was a backside to this station. These are the Whitaker family that he was talking about. This is the owner and his two sons. The individual in the middle still alive. Pete has had conversations. Bill's still alive.
Yeah.
There's a photo of what it looked like when it was in operations as a 76 station. And there's Mr. Whitaker right there. And another shot. But what I didn't know all the times that I was here is that Pete was saying that I would imagine, Pete, when this was one-way streets, so eastbound traffic and westbound traffic people can both get service at the same station at one time.
Yes, from 55 on.
From 55 on.
Until Union 76 decided not to be the runner of the
And then once it was a proprietor for the last few years into the 80s, it was just this one
just
side.
on this side here.
What is this picture of?
This actually shows the building next door and my building next to it.
Okay.
And across the street there's a place called Sayers, which is a convenience store, and that was a mobile station.
Oh, and that's gone now.
No, it's still there. The building's there. It's got
Okay.
wood side. It's called Sayers. It's right across the street here.
Okay.
It's actually a gas station and convenience store.
Okay. Oh, I like that too. Hey, Pete, let me pause it real quick. I know you have some customers in there, and I'll catch up with you in just a second. Thanks for holding on, people. He has some customers. I don't want to take away from his primary purpose here. He's not here to give me an interview. He's here to make a living. So this intersection, what?
On this intersection, there was a gas station on every corner.
Oh, so he's saying, so on Route 6, I would imagine the height of this, whether it was Route 66 or whatever.
When it was 2-lane, across the street in the empty lot,
Yeah.
Shell station.
Shell station was there.
And over on that corner, where that building is now, that was a Richfield.
Richfield.
Yes, it was a Richfield.
Give me the old phone, so I already hold up.
So
didn't have it.
that's a Richfield, which is the station that I volunteer at. And then it says gas, but I don't see any pumps.
They're over towards the other street.
Oh.
They used to be right out in front.
Okay, so there's another gas station,
And that was a mobile.
and that was a mobile.
And this was a Union 76.
One interesting thing that Pete has told me that it didn't really occur to me is that when Route 66 gets decommissioned, all those hard-hitting gas station guys, they were pulling out, and it ends up being sole proprietors were the only ones that were going to keep any gas stations alive, because and that might have been part of the death of Route 66 is these prominent gas stations are pulling out. They're pulling out of business.
Well, most of them, by that time, then they started moving out to the interstate, closer to the interstate.
Okay.
Companies did. So when you pulled off the interstate, then they would come in. I was a trucker for many years. I used to truck through here when it was still Route 66.
Where were you living?
I lived in Montana, but I trucked in 49 states and most of Canada.
Okay, 2 questions I know I'm going to get asked. I'm going to ask you before I'm going to forget. Number 1, what brought you to Williams? Number 2, what made you want to invest in making this a museum?
Well, at the time I was living in Southern California in the Antelope Valley.
Oh, I'm from Lancaster.
I lived in Quartz Hill for.
My grandmother lived in Quartz Hill.
No, we'll talk later.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway, I was teaching there in the high school district, and got tired of the stuff in California, unfortunately. And I'd always wanted to. I was going to build a station in my backyard, and I thought, we've been coming through here all the time. I'm buying gas pumps and stuff. Found this building that was abandoned at the time. It had previously been an ambulance company after it was a gas
A
station.
what company?
Ambulance.
Ambulance.
And they tore the front of the building off and did a lot of stuff to it, so it was abandoned when I got it.
What year was that?
2002. We've been here 22 years.
Okay.
Started with 0, and we're still going.
Wow.
And we get customers from around the world.
A lot of foreigners, a lot of
Oh, yeah.
languages.
In the summertime, it's hard to tell that you're not in Europe.
Yeah. What can you tell me a little bit about the car?
This is a 1950 Ford Custom.
Is it operational, drivable?
Yes, it's all original. It's got a flathead V8 in it and a 3-speed transmission with an overdrive. My father bought it new in 1950.
Oh my goodness, Pete, you got to be kidding
I am
me.
the second registered owner.
And that is a mint condition looking vehicle.
Well, it needs to be repainted again, but it's
So all you people that think I'm crazy for keeping my cars for a long time, I get razz. I got my 1993 Honda Civic.
Yeah.
It's not a classic, but people say, why do you keep your car for so long? And I guarantee you, when Pete's dad bought this in 1950,
1950.
it probably wasn't projected to say he's going to be in the family forever, and sometime in 2024 it's going to be a classic. But here you are, people. So Pete is the second registered owner.
Yeah, I still have some of the original paperwork. I have the original title.
Oh man.
I have the warranty and stuff signed by the dealer.
Do you do parades if they have parades here? Do you drive in parade or anything?
In fact, not this weekend, but the following weekend on June 7th and 8th is our annual car show. We'll have probably close to 500 registered cars on the street here.
Oh wow.
Anywhere from street rods to classics to you name it. My area will be completely full here. I've got people who call me every year and want to reserve a space.
Is there anything more that you would like to do, you have plans to do as far as the outside or the facade? I mean, you got the two gravity pumps that are very historic, stopped in time. That looks great. Are you ever thinking about putting any kind of marquee on the top again, a 76 logo? I mean, I know they're getting harder and harder to find.
Well, and you run into problems with
building codes?
signage, with building codes and stuff. I prefer to keep it, I want to stay as low-keyed. I want people to feel like they've come in back in time when they come in here.
That's cool. And I do. And I'm so happy that, I guess I come here in the winters too much, but I'm so happy. I was going to leave and I said, let me go check one more time. So, and I'm going to tell my YouTubers how to find it.
I don't like to me, I'm not into the tinsel of things. I want the history to come through.
Let me say something. Let me get in here really quick because I'm going to say something you just said. What Pete is talking about is something that I look forward to. I love Williams. Like I said earlier in my earlier video, come to Williams. The shops are great, but they are shops. They are shops. You're not going to find. You really want to absorb the Route 66 culture and history. This is where you're going to find it. Exactly what he said. When you want to step back in time and see what this Route 66 was all about. Those are great shops. Don't get me wrong. But you're not going to get this in those shops. You're going to get your cool little, bumper stickers or whatever. I get it. But you want an original feeling of Route 66. You got to stop by the station. So I appreciate you saying that. And I'm not knocking Williams. I love it. I love it.
And I have nothing against what other people want to do. It's just not me.
Yeah, it's not me either.
I like history. I like, the gas stations, and it's a personal collection. So my wife and I started this, like I said, 22 years ago.
You know what was amazing? The American road trip is such a phenomenon, it seems, still till today with Europeans, that the Europeans have more of a draw to these gas stations and our history than some American travelers.
When I opened mine here, there, but we're probably maybe 4 old stations on Route 66 that were open to the public.
And you're the last.
Yeah.
This is the last museum. I think I covered just about everything. I don't want to keep you too much. I'm going to wrap up this video. I'm going to walk your museum, but we're going to talk about Quartz Hill and
military.
Quartz Hill military, and I have a education degree, but I decided not to teach. And I think you and I have a lot of comparisons being in California. Let me wrap this up, and thank you so much.
You bet.
Really, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to take care of your customers, but I'll be here for a bit.
My wife just went in there. So
Oh, Pete, safe. I got to ask you one more time. Let me get some light on you. So can you please tell my viewers what is the best time to visit you? If they want to come, I know the outside is always here. So if he's closed, definitely come in and just look at the outside. But when are you open for visitors to see your museum?
Basically, we open up between the 15th and 20th of April, and we run up through generally October.
Okay.
Now, in between that time, I might be closed for some time off. So I don't broadcast a particular number of hours per day.
Okay.
But when we are open, we're usually open 11 or 12 hours a day.
So if any of my viewers want to come in and visit Pete, visit the museum, get some souvenirs from his souvenir shop, look at coming between the month of April and October, height of tourist season. It's not guaranteed that he's going to be open 9 to 5 every single one of those days through those months, but that's the time you're going to want to come by and check him out to see if it is. If you're outside of April or October, more than likely the garage door is going to be down, but you will be able to see these historic gravity pumps, which is I haven't seen any in Williams. So take your picture of the gravity pumps in case that you miss his openings. But I wanted my viewers to know when you were here, just so they know.
We're open usually until 8 or 9 o'clock at night.
And he gave me his card, guys. So look in my description box, and I will put all this information in my. If you don't write it down, it'll be in my description box. If you wanted to email him directly, just to ensure that in your travel plans that he might or might not be around. Very nice guy. Thank you so much. I'm going to do these shots, and then we're going to talk more. All right. Sure. Thanks. All right, so this is kind of like what we're looking forward to doing to our museum. We have some of these artifacts, but not all of them. This is a really cool anthology of pumps, by the way, you guys. I have never seen a gravity pump like this.
It's called a May West.
Pete's still with me. He calls it a May West.
Because of its shape.
Okay.
But it's a visible, just like the ones out there.
So let me ask. Is it okay if I keep talking to you?
Yeah.
All right. Is that your wife?
Yeah, my wife is.
Okay, tell her I'm sorry. But so you said something that I'm not, and I know our director, our president Anthony, is going to kill me for this question. But what's the right terminology? Gravity pump or view? Because I've heard a couple.
We call them visibles.
Visibles. What I tell our visitors is that. Correct me if I'm wrong again. Someone comes in and they tell the attendant, I want 4 gallons. This fills up so the consumer can see the gallons. Is that correct?
Yeah, and if you technically look at that, see how those numbers are backwards? Zeros at the top.
Yeah.
Okay. The theory was the attendant would hand pump it and fill it up.
Yeah.
Okay, then as it drained down, it told you the number of gallons you put in.
Okay, so if you wanted 3 gallons, you're telling me that the attendant's gonna stop it when it gets to that 3?
Well, yeah, if it's full.
So wherever the fluid is, wherever the fluid is, the customer's paying for the empty part that goes up.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know that. But if I call it a visual, is that what you called it?
Visible.
Because the guy in the Texaco station in I just forgot the name. The other one, he called it a visible. Yeah, Yarnell. He calls it a visible too.
Yeah, that's
I called it a gravity fed.
Well, it is a gravity pump, but it is the collectors all call it visible.
And these are all originals.
Yes, these are all originals, and it goes from the 20s, late 20s to mid 30s to late 40s, late 40s up through the 50s.
You know, and the thing about what he's showing me, you guys, which is really, really disheartening to me, I've seen pumps similar to these, or maybe that one, that are on these older stations. They just get vandalized and abandoned on some parts of Route 66. So these are things, and you know, he's got, you know, if you come in, you know, he's got a donation. He's not asking anybody. He doesn't charge fees. This is all something that he does, and the guy down in Yarnell does, because they have a passion for it, and they want people, like you said earlier, to step back in history. People like Pete, people like Scott down at the other station, they're few and far between. Although I would love it. See, here's what's so. These people have lived that life. These people have gone through the stages. They have the education, the experience to pass on. I'm 55. I'm asking him questions of stuff that I wouldn't be able to do. So these are the type of stops that I make the most of. I actually have one of these at my house. I keep pennies in. But
I have a banner here. Well, I shouldn't be doing this, I guess.
But I was going to say really quick. These things we do have one restored on our island.
They call those loopsters.
Yeah.
They hold bulk oil.
Yeah, I hope you're able to find my YouTube video of my ritual station. I think you'd like it. So what was the banner?
See this banner that says English Ironstone?
Yeah.
That was flown at this station in the late 50s.
How did you find that? Was it in storage?
It was in the attic of the office. And this is a set of dishes that match.
Oh, I swear, I remember this. When you would buy certain gallons, the cup, the sauce of the dish, and the salad dish, they would be given at different times of the month or the year, and depending on the gallons you got, the gas station would give you those, and he has an example of real ones right there. Isn't that right? It was like a gift.
Well, according to the banner here, you could buy the 4-piece set for
With-
$1.99
with
if
8
you
gallons.
bought 8 gallons of gas.
Okay, so okay, thank you for correcting
and
me.
This would have been 1958, 59, somewhere in there.
Yeah, so there it goes. I remember those I want to say giveaways, and that's something we want to do too. We want to have a display of belts. This phone booth, was this original to the station?
No, not to the station, but it is an original phone booth. It has a working payphone in it yet.
So for all those who've never seen a rotary phone, I got a funny story. I'm going to tell on my daughters. When the unfortunate day came where my wife's grandparents passed away, they had a rotary phone, and we went, well, look how because we were on rotary phones in the '60s. My daughters had no idea how they worked. They're 20 and 19 years old. They looked at it and saying, how. And for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, the cell phone world, it's that little round dial. It's like a record with little holes in it. That's what we're talking about. If you don't know what it is, go ask your parents, your uncle, your grandparents. Yeah. But yeah, they didn't know. They didn't know what it was. How much of, I guess we can't go through every piece, but the big notice, so the phone booth, the banner, were those dishes also found here?
No, well, this wasn't found here. I bought this from a private collector.
But the dishes?
The dishes, some friends of ours who dealt in antiques had these, and they donated them to the museum.
That is
because they knew I had this banner.
And then I got it. Then what about this phone or this cash register?
These came from other areas, but the uniqueness about this cash register, it is a gas station cash register. And the reason it is because it has all the keys for gas, oil, grease.
Oh yeah, look at that. So like in today's world, the equivalent would be, that would say Big Mac, that would say chicken nuggets, that would say, so this was specifically in a gas station, built for a gas station.
Right. And that is probably out of the early 19 teens. It was refurbished according to the serial number. It was refurbished in 1931. So it had been traded in, and they rebuilt it, and then they resold it to somebody else.
Is this?
That's a store license from a place in Montana.
Okay.
And I knew exactly where it was.
1953.
1953 license. I worked for Husky Oil for a number of years, so that's why I have some of the Husky stuff.
This gives me, it inspires me, and I hope it inspires our other docents. And we all want to get to where you're at.
Just a little side trip for Lancaster.
Yeah, go ahead.
That Ferris tire sign,
Yeah.
that was the first sign I ever bought. And there were a couple of brothers over in Lancaster, had a place they called Hell's Acre. And they had their own little kind of miniature town out there. It was down from the original fairgrounds down that road.
By Avenue I?
It was out, probably. I'm trying to think what the crossroad was. They were almost out towards the landfill.
I know. They used to drag race out there.
Yeah.
They used to, not drag race. People used to race out there.
But
illegally race. I mean.
These two brothers did demolition work, and they tore down a warehouse in Lancaster. And he had one of those signs on the fence, and so I said, "That's kind of a cool sign." He says, I have several of them.
And that's an original. That's pretty pristine. So that must have been in storage.
It's original. Well, it's new old, what they call new old stock. It's never been hung other than right there.
NOS.
Yeah.
I see that in the auto.
Yeah.
NOS.
Well, this brother opened up his shack. He had about a dozen of them. They still had the packing paper in between them.
Man.
And I said, "Well, would you sell one?" And he says, "Yeah." He says, "I'd sell one." So I said, "So how much do you think you have to have?" This is like 1990.
Yeah.
And he thought for a little bit. And he says, "Yeah, well," he says, "it's got to be worth at least $10." Bought that sign for $10.
I'll give you 9 now.
Yeah,
Appreciation.
I'm sure you will.
And then I'm going to let you get to your customers really quick. But is this jumpsuit Oh, it's a Conoco.
It's actually a shirt and pants.
And then original from Conoco?
Yes, and it was worn by a guy here in town. So it's from Williams.
That is amazing. A lot of stuff here. I can probably keep Pete and I talking forever on this. But hey, let me sign off. He's got some more customers. I'm going to hang out for a bit, guys. After he gets on with his customers, and Pete and I are just going to have another conversation about Lancaster and education and some other cool stuff that we've come across. So happy to have been here with you today, Pete. Thank you so much for talking to my viewers. Have a great day.
One last thing. I always ask people if they know what this is, and I cover it up so they can't tell.
Okay, it looks like a cistern. It's ceramic, so whatever went in there had to be purposefully kept cool.
It's a crock inside of a crock. And you would fill this with water,
Yeah.
and it would filter down through into this area, and then you'd open this up. And that's how they made distilled battery water in the 30s and 40s.
Oh, man.
That was the first distiller for battery water.
I'm glad you mentioned that. That is a cool...
Yeah, you don't see very many of those.
Nope. No, I knew I had to do something with water and keeping it cool. All right, we're going to wrap it up. Thanks again. And hey, you guys come through Williams. You know the address. Come pay Pete a visit. Bye, everybody.